Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you are from. I'm Coach Ram Babu, CEO and founder of Share Every Global Foundation. Welcome, everyone, episode 18. This is second time I'm going to meet Coach Deirdre Calcote. She is an author, philanthropist, and speaker, and she does many things for the sake of society. Today, we have selected very useful concept. It's a dream for every writer. There is a statement in English, a writer never has vacation. Here, Coach Deirdre Calcote is the best example for this statement. A couple of months back, I received a gift from her. This is her book. She sent from the US and she wrote with her community, igniting the world with our voices. And we are sure through this episode number 18 on Rendezvous with Ram Babu, we will make true your dream. If you are an aspirant to become an author, this episode conversation will definitely help you to become a good author in your journey. Good evening, ma'am, from India.
Good morning, sir, from America, Arizona.
How was your day today?
So far, so good. I got up and got it together to be with you.
I'm going to give a beautiful memory to all my viewers who really desiring to become an author. Before that, I would like to request you to introduce to all my viewers. Please go ahead.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Deirdre Calcote, and I am here from sunny Arizona. I have spent the majority of my life serving children and families in Arizona through child welfare, through the Division of Developmental Disabilities, and behavioral health. And as Jay Shetty says, last year I turned off the lights, I closed the door, I left my 9 to 5 for my 24/7. And let me tell you, being an author is not easy, but it is so rewarding and so much fun. And I believe you're going to get a lot out of today. I have collaborated with authors in 3 different books now, where I tell a portion of my story. And I also those 3 books have been national and international bestsellers. So something we have done is absolutely right. And I'm very excited about being here with you today, Coach.
Yes. My following question, you have been traveling with Share Every. You know what is Share Every, what Share Every does actually for the people's sake. But yes, we all want to listen something from you if you talk about Share Every. Could you please?
Absolutely, Rambabu. I looked back and we're on YouTube now, and I'm not sure we were there when I did my first session with you talking about effective parenting. Since then, the Share Every Global Foundation is amazing. Let me start with that. And has grown so. What I'm so excited about is, I think you heard me earlier, I'm about the children and families. And so the Smarties the Share Every Global Foundation Smarties, where children are taught, and not only taught, but they lead. They're learning the skills that they need to rise and be leaders in our communities. And then the adult portion of your Share Every Global Foundation is amazing as well. We have so many beautiful, smart, intelligent, funny people that have dedicated themselves in time to vision and the mission of Share Every Global Foundation. And I'm just honored, Coach Rambabu, that you would allow me to come and share with your audience again. I really appreciate it. I get excited. I'll tell you, I'm a nervous Nelly, they say in America, you know. So I get a little nervous, but I'm going to do my best today.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. My dear viewers, few months back, I met Coach Deirdre Calcote in previous episode, and we talked about effective parenting. If you want to watch again, we will provide the link in description below. Please watch. And before entering into the main interview, I want to make a request to all the followers and the viewers. If you really feel these educational videos and the label Rendezvous with Rambabu one-on-one interviews, if you really love this conversation, don't forget to give your support. Subscribe, like, share, and smash the bell symbol. And we want that to invite these kind of eminent coaches in upcoming interviews. Hope definitely you will do that, and you will support and you will encourage. Thank you so much. This is time to dive into the interview, how to become an author. Even to me, I have a big dream to pour all my thoughts and experiences in a book, but I don't know how to do it in systematic way. That we are going to learn from Deirdre Calcote. Already she is a renewed author, national and international level. Shall we begin the interview?
Yes, sir.
My first question in this interview, how to become an author. This is very important question, and many authors or the writers have $1 million confusion in their minds. The question is, what is an author and who is an author really? I want to listen from you, please.
So first, who is an author? We are all authors. There is a saying that I have heard all my life is, don't die with your story in you. You've got a story in you. You are here for a purpose and a reason. And what you have been through could support someone else if you are an author who is writing about yourself. Now, when I talk about an author, that's not the only thing. So don't feel like you have to tell your own story. An author is someone who writes content. It could be a book, it could be a story, it could be a journal, it could be a math book. That's not my way of going, but it could be. You could be a great storyteller. Blogging is authoring. And there is a difference. I'm a nerd, so I did some research. And because people always say author and writer are the same, and they really aren't, which is amazing to me. And so I want to make sure I say this right. The term author and writer, they're used sometimes interchangeably, but that's not true. There's a real subtle difference about them. You can be an author and you have original works that were published. That's what an author, that's when you're called an author. A writer is someone who participates in a writing process. So I'm a writer when I write my summary or when I write my dissertation. When it is published, then I am an author. So an author is always a writer, but a writer is not always an author. I found that so interesting. I say I thought they were the same. And so now I've learned and I am teaching. We teach what we best need to learn. So that was exciting to me.
Yes, yes, really. You have pointed out two interesting things. Everyone can become an author. There is no any specialization or speciality. And also you have given fantastic definition, the difference between a writer and the author. Really, many people, they get confused. Who is an author and who is a writer? But you have given, we can write anything. Whenever we publish, then automatically we can treat him or her as an author. But if you don't publish, we will be only a writer, not an author. Am I right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Yes, thank you. I got to know this from you. Thank you so much for guiding and making me aware.
It's amazing.
Exactly. Next question. It's also very interesting and a very brainstorming question to many people. Are there any categories while categorizing the authors? And the direct question is, are there different types of authors really? What do you say on that?
I say absolutely. And that is, we talk about fiction and we talk about nonfiction. So a fiction author is someone who invents things. Right. So when we read books that we love, sometimes we talk about love stories, or we talk about sci-fi, or we talk about things that we enjoy reading. Those are fiction. We have made up the characters. We have made up the plot. We have done everything. So some of the movies we see on TV are made from books, right? And so people want to make their books into a television show or a movie, and that's a fiction writer. Now, a nonfiction writer is someone who writes about themselves. They can write stories. I used to, as a child, and I'm aging myself, I loved Hitchcock, Alfred Hitchcock, because he wrote suspense. And his suspense was some books, and he also had shows. And I just loved that. I loved it. But now let's talk a little bit about nonfiction writers. Nonfiction writers research sometimes and write books or stories based on fact, based on evidence, based on events. So when you read an autobiography of a president or other people, if you read my book, all of the co-authors in there are writing about themselves and their story. They're not writing fiction. They're not writing about someone else. They could be. When I've held off on writing for a little bit because I'm brain spotting. I'm learning that. But my next book, I want to write about my siblings and I. And so I need to check with them, right? Because as you know, sometimes when we write, and I'm getting into something else here, but as we write, you have to be careful. You have to know your facts. You have to do your research. Memoirs, historical pieces that we've talked about. Sometimes people are funny. And so you can write humorous stories about yourself. If I were writing a humorous story about myself, I'd talk about how I fall. I seem to trip over a penny, and it's funny to me because it's like, Deidre, come on now. Can't you see that and walk? But it just matters. It's fun. People love to read. And now they're ebooks. You can use your voice to make your book. There's so many ways of publishing now that it's amazing, amazing. And I say some things good happened after the pandemic, and I think this is a part of it. More people are thinking about how to write, what to do. You can write manuals. When I was working, I would write trainings. And I would have to have those checked by everybody, make sure all my facts are right, make sure it's succinct, make sure it makes sense, make sure it's flowing. And so it's not just a one-time thing, it takes time. Academic books, travel guides.
Yes.
You have a travel guide where you travel. And that was great. So yes, there's both fiction and nonfiction that can be written.
Yes.
And so people can write whatever is important to them.
Okay. Yeah. And you have clearly mentioned in this answer, authors are two types, fiction and non-fiction. Maybe as per my knowledge, after listening your response, fiction mostly based on assumptions or imaginations, but the non-fictional authors or the writers, they search for the proofs. Mostly they based on the proofs. Am I right?
That's correct.
Fantastic answer. I love it. Third question, and this is very important. If I wish to become an author, what kind of characteristics I need to have in me? Then only I can prove myself as an author. I can attract the readers. How can you comment on that?
Oh, let me tell you. The first thing is you must be patient. You have to be patient. When I was writing, when they asked me to write at first, I was like, nah, I don't think so. I tell you, when you write for two reasons in my mind. You write for yourself because it is self-fulfilling, or you are trying to get a point across or teaching something. And the second is you write for your readers. Those have to be in line, okay? And so you have to be writing and be patient when you are writing. It's not an overnight thing. They gave me a deadline and I had to write almost every night. And because my story was so emotional for me, my patience were not long at first. But I had to rewrite, I had to rethink, I had to make sure, because of my story, some people could have been hurt by it, that I was doing my best to be neutral, that I was doing my best to not harm anyone who may have harmed me in my mind. So not only being patient, but you must be a person who is upstanding when you write. Look at what you're writing. Think about what you're writing. Be consistent. Treat writing as like a serious job. Set a schedule. Create a space where you can write. When I wrote, I came into my office, I opened my little laptop, and I wrote and wrote and wrote. Take the time to do that. Some people like music. I have a fountain that I put on in my office. Sometimes I like to burn a candle because it gives me a great sense of uplifting. So you want to create a space. You want to be creative, and you want to create a space that's going to support that creativity. You want to value criticism. I want to know how I could have made that better. What could I have done that would have been different? How would I have engaged audience better? Those kinds of things. And my last characteristic that's very important is be empathetic. When you are writing your story, even though it is for you. And so I am focusing more on the way I write because that's my experience, right? What do you want to say? What do you want to do? So when I wrote my first book, the one that I sent you, Igniting the World with Our Voices, that was hard for me to write because it was painful. It was painful telling my story. And so I'd write and I'd cry and I'd shut it down. and I'd write and I'd cry. You see, I got my Kleenex always with me, and I'd write some more. But if you're writing funny, if you're writing a manual, you won't have to be as empathetic if you're writing a manual or you're writing something that is factual in the way that you're teaching a course or something. You still need to think about people are different. I may say a word one way, they may say it another. I may see a concept one way, they may see it another. And so we want to be empathetic as well as listening to those who have something to say about the way and what we write.
What an amazing answer.
Thank
Every
you.
author aspirant should listen. These characters. As we mentioned, if we start any goal to achieve, it's not an easy task to achieve or reach in just one night, even in fortnight. We should work on and on till you reach goal. We write for ourselves and we write for others to read. He or she must know what to write, what not to write, and optimistic. And one more interesting that absolutely 100% I agree with you. They always value the criticism. Majority of the people, they don't like whenever somebody else talk anything against the author. They don't bear. If you are a good author like Deirdre Calcote, be always respect, value the criticism. It helps you a lot to learn many things to prove yourself for the people.
Even if it's poor criticism, if it's not true, we can learn from that too, right? My mother used to say to me, because I'm sensitive, you have to learn to let it go like a duck sheds water off its back. So when a duck is in water, right, if that water stayed on them, they would drown.
Yeah.
So water, like water off a duck's back. And so I'm saying you have to weigh it. We listen and we be a part of that.
Exactly. This kind of opinion or responses, what we are listening right now, I'm sure these all things will surely help to the upcoming artists. Thank you so much. Next question. Why should someone consider being an author?
And I touched on this because I just love this. It's to support, to get a point across, to support others. Sometimes it's on a dare. I was on a dare. I dare you. We used to say as kids, I double dog dare you. I dare you to write a book. And sometimes that's good enough. If you are competitive and somebody tells you, I dare you, you're probably going to do it, right? So it's to overcome or to talk about an experience. One of my chapters in one of the books talks about being a leader and how I grew to be a leader through my experiences in working and what I learned. And so I had to really go within and look at that. And I wanted to support others who wanted to become leaders or who were leaders who wanted to do better. And so that was my point to make outside of that first book. It's also sometimes to achieve a goal. Sometimes we say, I want to write. So you may take your journal. Journaling is writing.
Yeah.
And you may decide to take parts of that and write a book. And so you can be considered an author or be an author with whatever you have. If you want to be an author, you can be. You can. As they say, just do it. That's a Nike thing, right? Just jump. There are many things that you can find in people that can support you. You can research all kinds of things now, you know? So I think everyone should consider being an author,
Yeah.
and get those supports around you that you need. You know, I don't know it all. And there are sometimes my grammar is not well, it's not good. I may need somebody to read that and make sure that my grammar is right, that I'm making a point that someone else understands that's not just in my brain. So if you want to be an author, know who you are, know what you want to write, know what you want to do, and know what your weaknesses or where you need to, to be girded up, where you need support. Because nobody's an island, right?
Yeah.
We have to do this together.
Yeah. Amazing. Really amazing. Beautiful answer. Thank you so much for guiding and making upcoming authors aware of all these things. Really true. Next, I would like to note this question because it's very important.
Mhm.
Many people don't know this. What to publish, what not to publish. And an author publish their writings, all the
Yes.
writings. Yes.
You know, if you write your own, there's positives and negatives. If you don't have a publisher, then you don't have the support of others that you might need unless you are in that community. And so I know authors and friends of mine who have published their own and are very successful at that. I'm not sure enough of myself to publish my own writing because I want people to tell me I'm a little insecure about it, and I want to make sure that I'm writing. Now, let me tell you, I'm a good writer. I used to say I couldn't write, that I was a good editor. I'm a good writer. And I don't say that in a way that says, oh, Deidre's a good. You have to know who you are. You have to know that you can get a point across. And so if you want to publish, I would say definitely do your research on that. It's not as easy as it sounds. The publisher will support you, and you want to check publishers and see what they're going to do for you for the amount of money that they will receive. Are they going to train you on how to write some of the things that you need? Are they going to make the book advertisement for you? Are they going to do the cover for you? Depending, are you going to write with others? So there are a lot of things that you need to think about before you decide to not only be an author, but to publish yourself.
Really, coach, it helps a lot after listening this response to all the writers. Before the authors, they must prove themselves as a good writers. Then only they can become an authors. We must get command over the language. Then only we can prove ourselves. Without getting command over the language, and it gives wrong message to the audience, and even the audience also don't like our writings and words. Yes, it doesn't reach, I think. Yes.
Because some of the things I've said today, like the water off the duck's back, like the two sides to a coin, people may not have ever heard
Yes.
before. And so if I were writing that, I may have to do a little explaining, or I may need to leave it out depending on my audience.
Yeah.
We use a different vernacular when we're with our friends, right, than we do at work. I may use a little less formal language when I am with my friends. So I may just, girl, such and such. I don't write like that. When I'm an author, when I'm with you, when I am coaching, when I am working, I don't talk like that because that's not professional. So we have to know the difference between that too, coach. I don't talk to you the way I would talk to my child. And don't forget kids' books. Let me tell you, writing kids' books is amazing. I don't think I have that task, but I have a girlfriend who is writing children's books, and she's having her grandson to illustrate them.
Mhm.
Amazing stuff. I mean, everybody, I hope everybody will consider writing.
Exactly. Yes, coach. Yeah, thank you so much for your fantastic answers. And before wrapping up our episode number 18, I would like to make a request, being as an author, and I'm recommending to give some techniques to prove the upcoming writers as an authors. If I make request, what kind of techniques or tips you will give to the authors who are desiring to prove themselves as an authors or writers? What kind of tips would you suggest?
The first one for real is be patient. Know that you've got to read it and write it and read it and read it and write it because it is a process. Be consistent. Write. If you set a time, if you have a schedule, be consistent. Use your tools. Google or whatever you use to look up things, even standard dictionaries. I love opening the dictionary. Thesaurus. Maybe I don't want to say sad. Maybe there's another word for that. Maybe I don't want to use the word comprehension. So we look at what those are. And I would say to everyone, just because we have some things that are not perfect, perfection stops us from doing what we need to do. So I would say, please don't try to be perfect. Get your community around you. Call me if you need. You can find me. If I can support you in any way in your writing, I will try to do that. But it's in you. It's in all of us. Now, some people don't want to write, and I don't blame them. It's not easy. I'm never going to tell you it's easy, but I will tell you it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's so fun for me writing about me. Now, when you're writing a manual, I don't know. It may be fun for the person writing, but if I was writing math, I'd be more gray.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for beautiful answers. And dear
Thank you.
viewers, that's it for our episode 18. Please watch this video without skipping till the end. Surely you will get some valuable tips, and also you will know many things to prove yourself in two stages. First, you want to prove yourself as a writer, If you publish that, you will become an author. Really, I feel very, very, very delighted to know this. Not just this, many things I have learned. Thank you so much for Deirdre Calcote for your time and precious knowledge. And we are expecting many more such productive, knowledgeable sessions and interviews from you in near future.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everybody, for listening. There's more. We only had a little time, so I gave as much as I could, but there's more. You can find more on the internet and everywhere else. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Goodbye.
Bye for now.